What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Jared Williams Show. Today we got super special guest, Mr. Doug Wyatt in the house. What's up, Doug?
Hey, great to be here. Really appreciate you having me on today. It's an honor.
It's good to have you on. We kind of talked about this before, but you're the second person ever on the podcast with a sport coat.
I've heard.
So-
Good friend Greg Schoenhorn the other day. He's a banker. But maybe we'll talk a little bit about the sport coat today. I think it's relevant.
Okay, good. Greg was a cool guest to have on.
He's an amazing guy.
He was even cooler at dinner.
Oh, really?
He's a funny guy.
You cut up a little bit, huh, at dinner?
He did. He's good people. Before we get into it, I want to shout out to our sponsor, PlumbLine. Super cool company. If you guys are having troubles getting your phone answered, you're not answering calls on the weekends, you're busy in a crawl space, you can't answer your phone, your CSRs are busy answering phones, you need somebody to answer the overflow calls, check out PlumbLine. Go to plumblineanswers.org. They charge per booked call. They're an awesome service. If you're marketing your company at all, you don't want to throw that money out the window and not get those phone calls and not book those jobs. That's where PlumbLine comes in. If you say you heard about them from Wealthy Plumber or Jared Williams, you get 1 week of free booked calls. Go check them out. plumblineanswers.org.
Fantastic. And thank you for the introduction to the ownership over there. We've got a lot of shared clients that are with PlumbLine. Very, very happy. So
yeah,
what a great organization they are.
It's a cool service.
Yeah,
I
they
think.
do a great job.
So on that note, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, that's good. I'll start with the sport code because this is not the way that I grew up. I grew up in a small country town in southwest Missouri, a little town called Nixa. It's kind of north of the Arkansas border in between Springfield and Branson, Missouri. And I tell you what, I grew up just working hard. My dad had us up before the sunrise and we worked till after sundown. Lived on 10 acres. We didn't actually have a farm, but most of my friends did. And so I grew up baling more hay. That was my first introduction to performance-based pay. Baling hay.
Did you get
trimming
paid per bale?
Oh, yeah. Bucking those bales of hay. And I'll tell you what, you get strong. And in the Missouri heat, the humidity, it's not an easy gig. But, I grew up working on tractors and changing my own transmission, changing my own brakes. So I have some mechanical skills, but I got to say, Jared, my dad, not an easy guy to get along with. And he really turned me off from working with my hands and working with tools. He wasn't a great communicator. And so I really set something in my life as I kind of got into junior high and high school where I said, I've learned a lot from that man in regard to work ethic and, how to be a strong man out in the fields. But I also learned a lot of things the way I didn't want to be to my own children and to my own wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took those things and I've focused my entire career since the time I was about 18 or 19 years old on all the other things that I didn't learn from him, how to be an effective communicator. And I've been in the HVAC, the plumbing industry. I've been in the business of sales and many other industries for many years, over 30 now. And my focus has been, how do you scale a business with integrity? How do I take those small town country values that I learned out in the countryside of Southwest Missouri, apply those to scaling a business, recruiting other great men and women that want to live their life through their core values, their integrity, through honor, and not trying to sell somebody something they don't need. But how do we work together as a team, effectively communicate with each other and with our customers? And so that's my story in a nutshell. Hard work, a never say die attitude, never give up. And I just, I came from nothing. And I think anybody can do anything they sets their mind to.
So was your dad a farmer? Or did he just was that his night and weekend kind of thing?
My dad wasn't a farmer because we had 10 acres, but like I said, we didn't have any animals. He worked at the railroad his entire career. He did remind my brother and I that we had it really good, and we did compared to him. Every day growing up, he would remind us that when he was in junior high, he still lived in a one-room shack on a dirt floor with no central heat. I had a wood fire burning stove and an outhouse 50 yards outside of the home, and they literally lived on a dirt floor. That was down in around Forsyth, Missouri. So we were just good old redneck folks. I got my first new pair of shoes when I made the basketball team in 7th grade. I thought they were great. They were called Avias. And
Vias,
Avia, A-V-I-A. And they were the hottest thing. It was before Nike got really big. Michael Jordan was coming on the scene, but Avia was a big brand. And I'm telling you, those things were like bricks. They were beautiful, and they were my first new pair of shoes. Grew up wearing hand-me-downs.
Yep.
Wearing my brother's underwear, wearing my brother's jeans. We had patches on our jeans. And so I just, and I don't feel bad about that. I wouldn't want anybody to feel sorry for me. It made me who I am today. But my dad was just a good old boy, worked at the railroad and worked hard and was a good provider. We never went a night without a dinner or anything like that. But boy, we worked hard.
That's good. I think society today lacks men who work hard, for sure. It'd be nice if we had more of that.
It kind of seems like maybe we're starting to turn a little bit of a corner. Maybe we've reached a turning point.
I feel like we are. I mean, I hear it all the time, like from people that I know. They're like, I just want to spend time with my family. And I'm like, I mean, that's nice, but I would rather set an example of working hard for my kids rather
Yeah.
than spend all the time in the world with them and
Yeah.
not work hard.
Make a really good point there. I think, as both guys that have been in business for a long time, you and I, what I realized as I had small children and my kids are grown now and I'm an empty nester, but I did realize that my kids need a certain amount of dad, but they need dad in a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. And that means that they don't need dad sitting around watching the football game, ignoring them, telling them to be quiet. They don't need dad at home, but not investing any time with them, looking them in their eye or talking to them or throwing the ball with them. And so what I did is I made the most of the time that I had with my kids because I've been a guy that travels a lot, speaks a lot, goes to a lot of events, trains at a lot of places.
Yep.
And so what I realized is it was truly the quality of the time that I spent with my kids. And like you said, Jared, setting that example for our kids. And really, I mean, if I look back and I go, what did my dad really do for me? There was one thing I definitely took away from the countryside. You never lie, cheat, or steal. You keep your word at all cost. You are where you say you're going to be when you say you're going to be there, and you work your tail off every single day.
Yep. Yeah. Same thing with my dad. He set a good example of working. He wasn't around all the time. And like he was here last year. I took him out to dinner and he said, he regretted not spending time with us. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like you set a really good example for us of working your butt off. And it's made me who I am today. So, yeah. So you grew up on a farm, you're poor as all get out. How do you get into what you do now?
It's a great question. So when I was growing up, I knew I wanted more out of life, right? I saw some folks that were ahead of me in school playing sports, and we were like the Hoosiers. In that small town, we were the kind of town, Jared, and I don't think this happens very often these days, but if you've ever seen the movie Hoosiers, where it takes place there in Indiana.
I've never seen that movie.
It is an incredible movie. Gene Hackman. And what happens at Hoosiers, this small little town, they go and they play against the big schools in the state tournament. But every time they have an away game, all of the people from that small town would drive to the high school and follow the bus. And it was like a caravan on the way to the away games. And then on the way home, like this huge long caravan of headlights following the bus back. And that's the way it was in Nixa when I was growing up. I bagged groceries at the local grocery store, and people would come in and they'd be like, hey, Doug, big game this Friday. Are you ready? And they'd know the other players and their numbers and their stats and my stats. And so it was really cool. But there was a guy that was a few years ahead of me, and he was like the star. He was the guy that I looked up to as I was coming up through grade school. And he was just the stud of the town. And then a few years later, after he graduated, he was back in town working at a gas station. And I said, I want to be a great athlete, but I want to get out of this small town and kind of expand my wings. And so that's what I did. I worked about 6 hours a day on my game, dribbling, practicing, jumping, shooting, got pretty good, ended up getting a college basketball scholarship, played a couple of years of small college ball out in Kansas. And then I realized that was work too. And I just decided to move on with my business career. So I went out to the University of Colorado, transferred there out in Boulder. And while I was there, me and my buddies were eating a lot of pizza from a great little local restaurant. And one night, I wake up in the middle of the night. I was tired of being broke. I had $23 to my name. I'm trying to go to college. I wasn't made for college, but I got started because I got a scholarship. And I got this idea that even though my dad hated salespeople and I didn't want to be in sales, I got this idea that I wanted to be something more than I hated sales.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go talk to that business owner that owned that little pizzeria and tell him I'd put together a coupon book and I'd go sell that door to door, promoting him and his amazing pizza, because they did have the best pizza in Boulder. And so I went and talked to him. I'll shorten the story, but I put together this coupon book. I went out and started knocking on doors. I did this for about 6 months, just, Jared, getting my teeth kicked in. I mean, doors, boom, slam, not interested, get the hell out of here, all that stuff, right? And I learned a lot, and I started studying. I started reading books on sales and motivation. and goal setting. And I started studying compensation structures, and I wrote an 84-page training manual. I then went and recorded an audio training CD, had some buddies that were DJs, and so I went and put down my first audio training track.
Nice.
And I went and flyered the campus of CU Boulder, hired 10 kids, and then I started teaching them how to sell door to door, what I'd learned my first 6 months. And I'm talking about line for line, word for word on scripts, because I grew up in a Baptist household, grew up memorizing scripture. So I put little superscripts there on every line, broke up my sections of the presentation into chunks, and then I would practice and I would role play with these college kids. And I made myself the promise, Jared, those first 3 months when I started hiring other kids. So 6 months learning it on my own, writing that manual, 3 months hiring and training. I promised myself I will never knock on another door by myself. And so that was how I taught myself how to scale. If I didn't have somebody to train, if I didn't have somebody to retrain, to do what I called a walk along, knock on doors with them, show them, practice with them, coach them between homes, then I was going to be recruiting. And so that's what I did. And Jared, a few years later, by the time I graduated college, I had 500 kids working for me in 7 states out west.
Selling pizza books?
Selling pizza coupon books.
What was the deal with the business owner?
So
tell me I want to know the financials behind it. What is that?
So I walk into this business owner. I'm in the business school at the University of Colorado. I walk in there and I say, it's like 7:00 at night. And I figured his evening rush was over. And I said, hey, I'm Doug. I'm at the local business school down here. I'm in here a lot. We order a lot of pizza. He goes, yeah, I recognize you. You guys do eat a lot of my pizza.
And you're how old at this point?
I'm 19 years old.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I'm standing there talking to this guy at his counter. You know, he's sweating. He's been back there making dough all evening. It's his evening rush is over, but he's still got people in his restaurant. And it's a little small place. Most of their business is delivery. It's just one of those places you walk into in a strip mall. It's called the Sweet Tomato Pizzeria, Boulder, Colorado.
Sounds good to me.
Oh my gosh, just amazing stuff. You know how we are college guys. We can live on pizza.
Yeah.
And he had good prices. So anyway, I tell him, I've got an idea. I'm in the business school and I want to promote your restaurant. And he's like, oh, you do you? And I said,
where'd this idea come from?
I just, I'm in business school. We're learning lots of different things and reading books. And it literally just came to me in the middle of the night. And maybe it was a combination of maybe somebody had come by and knocked on the door selling spray bottle cleaners. There's kids selling magazines from out of state, lying to people, acting like they go to the local schools. And so, you have those experiences. Somehow my subconscious mind put it together. And so I tell this guy, I'd like to go out and start knocking on doors promoting your pizzeria. And he says, okay, you got my attention. How much is it going to cost me? And I said, it's not going to cost you anything. He goes, oh, right. Okay. One of those too good to be true things. I said, here's the thing. I need you to give me some aggressive offers on your pizzas, on your salads, on your cannolis, on whatever you're offering. I need them to be more aggressive than whatever you do in your mailers, in anything you would do on the radio or television, anything you do on a bounce back, which is the coupons that come out on the box, right? To get you to come back and order again. I said, if you will give me a better offer than anything you're offering in the public, and you allow me to go out and promote these, I will print the books. I will knock on the doors. I will train the kids. I'll hire the kids. I'll manage the crews. You have to give me better offers and you have to make them never expire. And if anybody doesn't like your pizza that buys one of my coupon books for your place, I'll give them 100% refund, no questions asked. So we're in this together. You give me better offers. You give me no expiration on these so that I can tell people they have as long as they want to use them. I'll reduce and lower risk. Tell them if you don't like it, if it's not the best pizza you've ever had, then I'll buy the coupon book back from you. And we went out. And Jared, I taught myself. It took me a while.
And you sold these books to the customer?
$20 a pop.
$20 a pop.
No expiration.
That's how you made money.
Money back guarantee. So check this out. At $20 a pop, these coupon books were costing me $1. I don't have to give any back to the business owner, and the business owner doesn't have to pay me anything.
Yep.
So I go out there and I start selling for $20. I got $19 in margin on that, $1 in expense.
Yep.
Okay. If I'm selling them myself. So I got about $1 in print cost. I got an attorney and through the business school, and they didn't charge me anything to write up a independent contractor agreement, a contract with the pizzeria. And so I went out, and Jared, I taught myself over those first 3 months, if I hustled and I got really good, and the better I got, the better I closed, I could sell 10 of those a night. in 3 hours between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. So do the math on that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, as a college kid that started with 23 bucks in his pocket, all of a sudden I'm making 200 bucks a night, less the $10 it cost me to print those 10 coupon books I sold.
Yep.
So then when I went and flyered the campus and I hired kids, I put together a compensation structure, 50% commission. And if you got to 5 sales in one night, you got 60%. And if you got to 10 sales a night, you got 70%. So
Nice.
now if I got a kid that goes out and generates $200 in revenue, I'm paying the kid 70% of that. So about $140. I got 60 left over. I got $10 in expense. So I'm making $50. Now do the math on that. I got 10 kids selling 10 cards a night,
Yep.
making $50 on each of them. And I don't have to knock on another door.
Yep.
And then I just said, what if I had a crew up at CSU in Fort Collins? What if I had a crew down in Denver at CU Denver? What if I had a crew down in Colorado Springs? And so that's what I did. I started setting up my schedule that next semester where I was done with class after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon. And I started flying around. I went to Salt Lake City, hired a bunch of return missionaries, LDS guys
Yeah.
that had been selling, in a foreign language, in a foreign land, religion, and selling pizza along the Wasatch
They're used
Front.
to hearing no.
It was easy for them to sell pizza to
Uh-huh.
other LDS families in the Wasatch Front that were also eating lots of pizza, big families. From there, I went to Sacramento, San Jose, went all up and down the western seaboard, went into Phoenix, Las Vegas, went up north into Oregon, and 7 states, man, 500 kids. And this isn't bragging, but this can go to show what we can do when we put our mind to something. My best month ever while still in college,
Mhm.
I netted $250,000 in profit in the
Nice.
month of May in 1 month.
Nice.
In profit in 1 month. Now, the next month was $3,300 because everybody went home for the summer. For summer vacation, my cruise would fall apart.
Yep.
And so my business career traversed from there where I got into restaurants. The guy I was promoting for Papa Murphy's in Denver, having lunch with him one day, and he's like, "You want to open some restaurants?" And I said, "Heck yeah." And he goes, "Well, I thought you were doing well in the coupon business." I said, "Man, it is feast or famine. Like I build the crews all spring and then they fall apart in the summer. And then I build them in the beginning of the fall, they fall apart in the winter. Kids don't want to walk around in snow and freezing cold. And he goes, "Doug, one condition. I will show you how to run the franchise business." I'd made him the #1 Papa Murphy's franchisee in the country with our door-to-door promotions for his stores in Denver. And he said, "I will teach you the franchise business. You have to keep those crews going because you've made me #1 in the country." And of course I was like, okay, I can do that. So in 1 year in Denver, I got into real business with point of sale operating systems and franchise agreements. We opened 9 restaurants, 6 Papa Murphy's and 3 Subways in my mid-20s, and been off to the races ever since.
Do you still own any of those?
I don't. No. What I realized, one day my business partner in the restaurants was on the golf course, and I didn't grow up about that life. Didn't own a set of sticks. Didn't grow up golfing. Just didn't come from that life.
Yeah.
And he went out. He got put in a foursome with a guy that had started an HVAC company down in Colorado Springs. And he comes back and he's very excited. I mean, we were getting ready, Jared, to go open 100 stores. That's what I thought we were going to do. We are getting ready to sign an agreement for 3 Del Tacos in Kansas City. And he comes back to me one day and he goes, "Hey, Doug, I got paired up with this guy on the golf course today. What do you think about the HVAC business?" And I said, I don't think anything about the HVAC business. I mean, I don't know any more than how to turn up and down my own thermostat. Most of the time I get that wrong. But I did have some mechanical expertise, but I really didn't want to get back on that side of things, just, the way I grew up. And he goes, "Doug, what if we franchised heating and air conditioning and plumbing companies, electrical businesses? What if we did that across the country instead of restaurants?"
Yep.
It got my attention. And then he said something else. He goes, "We sell pizzas for $12, $15 and we make a couple of dollars. What if we sold full furnaces, air conditioners? What if we sold water treatment systems?
Yep.
What if we were going in doing, whole home repipes and bigger projects where we get one client and we have thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in revenue, tens of thousands of dollars in margin?" And that's where it clicked.
Yep.
And I was like, what I'm really good at is getting people to invest in a vision and taking care of other people. I think Zig Ziglar may have said it best. He's one of my mentors. I did meet him once, but most of the mentorship came through books and cassette tapes and live events that I went to in my 20s. But Zig said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care."
Yep.
And so I thought about that and I said, that's the way I've been scaling my businesses. I put my arms around these college kids. I encourage them. They go out there and make $0 on a full commission plan because they didn't sell a single card that night or a single coupon book. You got to put your arm around them. You got to retrain them. You got to role play them with. You got to get out, stand side by side with them the next night and show them how they can do better. So it really became this thing where I was like, everywhere I go, if I focus on the core values of being a good person, serving customers incredibly well, I could achieve success in any area of my life. Didn't matter what the industry was. And so I've been in dental consulting. I've trained salespeople at GE to sell $1.4 million MRI machines. And what I can tell you, Jared, is where I find that my heart and soul is tied, I keep coming back. I've owned multiple contracting businesses, heating, air conditioning, plumbing. On multiple occasions, I've won some awards. And those awards weren't because we just went out and had the most revenue. Because we ran the best business with the best people serving our customers better than our competitors would even dream of. And so that's really how I got into here, and how I'm sitting across the table from a man like you is because, heating, air conditioning, plumbing kind of fell into my lap. The plumbing company that I had in Colorado Springs, we were heating, air conditioning, and plumbing. And in 2009, the worst year of the worst economy since the Great Depression, I'd been with that business as a co-owner and as a general manager for 3 years. And that year we won Inc. magazine's, we were on Inc. magazine's list of fastest growing privately held companies in America. In a year where many contractors, HVAC and plumbing both, were going out of business.
Yep.
Because when the mortgage bubble burst, we almost had a worldwide financial collapse. Mortgages were harder to come by. Home equity lines were reduced to, the last $1,000. People used to just stroke checks for huge projects back in 2007, 2008. Our entire economy was on stilts like toothpicks, right?
Yep.
And when that happened, the economy really started to tank, but it really hit us in the trades hard in 2008, 2009. And when those companies were going out of business, our company doubled in size, selling our brand that we were marketing, selling their most premium equipment at the highest prices in Colorado Springs. And the manufacturer came to me and my business partner and said, "What are you guys doing? We got guys going out of business, sticking us with hundreds of thousands of dollars in supply house bills all over the country. You guys have doubled your business this year. You're doing it with our premium equipment. You're not doing it by dropping your price. What gives?" And so they flew us out to the factory in Indianapolis. We sat there. It was supposed to be a 90-minute meeting, lasted for a couple hours, actually pretty much the entire day. And at the end of the day, they said, "Could you guys teach what you're doing in Colorado to our contractors all over the country?" So we put together a giant workbook. We built a green screen studio. We went out and we started traveling and speaking. I was not a speaker. Scared to death, Jared. I am an introverted extrovert now. I've forced myself to become an extrovert. I was the most shy kid. I got used to being on stage by playing a lot of basketball and being in front of big crowds. But I'm telling you, when that huge manufacturer and distribution organization hired us, I just had to say, I'm either doing this or I'm not. And so we just got up on stage and started sharing with people what we were doing in our own HVAC and plumbing business. How are we answering our phones? How did we dispatch our technicians? What did we say on our call ahead? What did we do at the door knock? What did we say in the entryway? How did we get people to the kitchen table to review our diagnostic? What did we do when we went over options and optional repairs and everything in that home that we found? And we taught other people how to do it. And before you know it, we had clients that were reaching Inc. 5000 status. You just never know where life's going to take you. But I can tell you this, with the right attitude, with the right work ethic, and if you're a man of character, you can do anything you set your mind to. And that's my life. I dive in and I go all out. I don't leave something half-assed. When I got into HVAC and plumbing, I just started reading every book I could read about how do you build a business. I had to learn a little bit about the trades, right? Even though I wasn't out there using my tools, if I was going to develop a performance-based pay structure, I had to make sure that that was fair to the guys and to the gals, wherever position they were in. And so that's what I've been doing. And that started in 2006. So I've been in this, I guess this month, 19 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I want to know how many plumbing, HVAC, whatever trades businesses were you involved in?
Of my own or
Of,
that I've trained?
of your own.
Of my own, two.
Yeah.
So one in
Two.
Colorado Springs, it was HVAC, air conditioning, heating, air conditioning, plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Denver, had a company where I joined an 18-year-old business
Mm-hmm.
that had no systems, no processes, no CRM, no website. This was in 2015, my second go around. And when I joined that company, heating and air conditioning, we did some pretty amazing things very quickly there because it was my second go around. I made a lot of mistakes my first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went out on the trail, another part of your question is I worked with over 1,000 heating, air conditioning, and plumbing business owners and their technicians and sales teams, trained over 7,000 blue-collar tradesmen to run their calls and sell in the homes with integrity.
So tell me more. I want to know more about your first company. Like, what was that like? How did was that the company you got involved with the guy on the golf course?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and that company was very small. Had only been in business about 14 or 15 months when I got involved with that. When I bought into that company, I put $250,000 as an investment into that company in the fall of 2006. We used that investment to go purchase another company. We were doing mostly sales and install. We purchased a company that had 6 technicians. And so all of a sudden we have a service department, right?
Yeah.
And then a few months later, we made one of the worst decisions of our lives. We bought a behemoth commercial company in Colorado Springs that had already acquired a couple of other businesses. And so we bought that company because they had this giant aspen leaf logo on their trucks. And they had been in business in Colorado Springs since 1937. And so we bought it for the brand. We realized we didn't know anything about commercial HVAC or commercial plumbing. And we got in over our head and just about went out of business. It was very close. We consolidated all 3 companies and all 3 brands into one company name. We shut down the commercial division. I was 32 years old at the time, and you talk about a miserable 2 weeks, Jared. I brought man after man into my office, sat them down, lined out that they were going to be parting ways with us that day, gave them as much severance as we could, and over 80 times let go of men and let them know that they had no longer had a way to pay their mortgage, to put groceries on their kitchen table. And I don't take that lightly. I kind of feel the emotion welling up in me right now. And I think it's made me the man who I am today, that I always want to give people a chance. I give people enough rope to hang themselves. And these men certainly did nothing wrong back then in those days. But what I share with my team now is, I can't want this for you more than you want it for you, right? Winning isn't everything. Wanting to is. I'm looking for people who are competitive. I'm looking for people who have drive and desire. I'm looking for a man who doesn't want to go home and play video games while his wife is wondering why they can't take a vacation. I want a man that wants to get out there and get after it. If that means he has to get up early and work on himself, work on his communication skills, work on his mindset before those kids wake up, then that's what he needs to do. That's what we do as men. We protect, we provide, we take care of our families. We don't make excuses when our family is in need. If everything else is taken care of, you got that house payment or that mortgage paid, if you got those car payments paid, if you got great food on the table, if the heating and air conditioning works great, if you got nice clean sheets, fine. Play some video games, watch a Netflix series. And if you don't, get your ass out of that bed and get your ass to work. And so, to come back to your question about that company, what we did was we developed a culture second to none. And everywhere I go, that's what I want first and foremost. I want a culture of servitude. We don't lie, cheat, or steal. We treat people like our very own grandmother. We work our asses off, and we do what we say we're going to do. And if we screw something up, which we do, as contractors, we do screw things up.
We do.
We send the cavalry and we fix it.
Yep.
We don't leave somebody twisting in the wind. We don't make somebody threaten 1-star reviews or a call for action news segment or an attorney. When you find out that something you promised, that something we installed, that something we serviced isn't working as we outlined, we move heaven and earth. We get out there and we fix it. And that's how we build a business. We've done some amazing things at the different companies that I've been involved with. And the amazing things that we've done for our customers, those things filter back to other companies. And I can't tell you how many times, Jared, I've had men come to me working at other organizations and saying, I was out at the Jones residence and they were telling me about what you guys did and how you screwed something up, but then what you did to fix it. And I said, I ain't never heard something like that. I wanted to come and talk to you and see if you guys had any open positions. We don't treat people like a number at my organizations. We treat them like human beings. We see them.
Yep.
We learn about them. Every man and woman that worked for me, I learned their names, their wife's names. I learned their kids' names. I wanted to know what sports their kids were in. I wanted to know what their dreams were. As soon as I went into an interview with somebody and I started to think, this is the kind of man or woman that I could have work for me, they're going to become part of our family. I'm going to have to become part of theirs. I want to take their wife or their husband to dinner. I want to get to know them. And then, you know what? When the shit hits the fan, Jared, and all of a sudden things are getting really rough with the economy or the leads or the close rates or whatever, if that person looks at the person at the front of the room and says, that guy's got my back, I got his back. That's how culture is built.
Yep.
And that's how a company's built. And so that company, I learned a lot. I built a business, door-to-door sales with a bunch of college kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard because all they want to do is find enough money to drink beer and smoke weed, right?
Yep.
And then I moved from that into the restaurant business, and all of a sudden having 9 restaurants, you got to staff like a Papa Murphy's, which if you don't know what that is, it's a take and bake pizzeria. There's no ovens, comes on a take and bake tray. You put it in your own oven. It's great pizza, but it's in a strip mall.
Yep.
And so you're hiring kids like 15, 16 years old, 17 years old. Their mom's got to drive them to work, and then they got get dropped off at 5:55 and they got to get picked up at 7 because they got to get home and do homework. I'm like, so I got them for 2 hours.
You hire them on a Monday, they quit on Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I got more pizzas when I'm not there going out the back door. And I'm telling you the worst thing, you know what our biggest theft item was at Papa Murphy's? Part of it was pizza, but it was cookie dough. These freaking high school kids, man, they love cookie dough. So you got to watch your theft, right? You call that shrink. And so you got shrink, you got to manage your margins, you got to count your number of tomatoes and pepperoni slices you put on. And then one of the hardest things in the business is labor. The labor of the restaurant industry with young people, it's a nightmare. So I got to tell you, I learned, okay, the labor market in door-to-door sales, you got to keep pumping them up. You got to keep retraining them, right? And you're on $0 of salary. It's all commission.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're giving these kids base pay, right? Minimum wage type jobs. It's really hard to create performance-based pay in a pizzeria restaurant.
Yeah.
And you can do it with your management staff and your leadership team. And then I went from there into the trades. And now this was like, it inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
It enthused me because you talk about a challenge. Blue collar tradesmen got into the trades. Why? Because they don't want to study.
Yep.
Because they don't want to be in school.
Yep.
They want to work with their hands. They don't want to be told what to do.
They don't want to communicate.
Don't want to communicate.
Yep.
And listen, even though I look like this, man, this is a uniform.
Mm-hmm.
This is a uniform. This is not how I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I wear this uniform out of respect for the trades
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not a plumber, Jared. I'm not a professional HVAC technician. Now, we'd be silly to think that over my 2 decades in the trades, I don't know enough to be dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be dangerous.
Yep.
But I know enough to be dangerous, and I know how long a job should take, and I know how the jobs are done. It just doesn't resonate with me
Mm-hmm.
to go get those tools and to get down and do that work. I'd rather share with somebody how they can communicate to sell more work at better margin without lying, cheating, or stealing, treating people like their own grandmother. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
When I got into the trades, I realized the trades didn't need Doug Wyatt to come in and teach them how to HVAC or plumb or do their electrical.
Yep.
What I saw my role in the trades is to be a guy that could come in and inspire people to be better in every area of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And then to give them the words, the systems, the processes to scale their businesses, to recruit others, plug them into those things where they could still show up to the ballpark, the T-ball, the baseball park in their local town, or stand in line at the grocery store without having to take off their uniform. Because they were afraid that somebody was going to see them in line and start pointing that finger at them and say, you guys did this, or you didn't do that, or you overcharged me, or whatever. What I said is, I want to be able to show men and women in this industry how they can go out there and hold their head high, tilt that chin up, and know that wherever they go in their local community, that no, they weren't the cheapest. They were the best.
Yep.
And we've got to communicate. We can't just be the best and not communicate it.
Yep.
Because then we're going to get 1-star reviews. Even if we were the best, they expected the job to work. They expected it,
Yep.
the drain to drain. They expected the faucet to not drip. They expected the shower to run. They expected the furnace and air conditioner to work, the home to be hot or cool, whatever time of year it is. They expect that. They don't understand what those of us, Jared, that run first-class operations do to ensure the safety of those families and those kids in those homes. What we do with torches and tin snips and soldering and just all that stuff, EPA, refrigerants, highly controlled substances, life and death.
Yep. So how long did you stay involved in that first company?
2006 to 2012.
And
we got the training opportunity at the end of 2009 into 2010. So we still had our HVAC and plumbing company. We went on the road for years, training those 1,000 companies and 7,000 technicians. And then I was in the training game for a while without a trade business from about 2012 to 2015. And then me and the other guy parted ways, didn't see eye to eye on some things. It's okay. We had a great 9-year run together between 2006 and 2015. An incredibly talented guy, incredible speaker, incredible motivator. Haven't spoken to him now in 10 years. So been away from him for 10 years. I was with him for 9. And when he and I parted ways, I had a client that had just joined us reach out to me in Denver. They had called down to the training organization and they said they were looking to speak to Doug. And one of the sales guys working for me there was like, Doug's no longer here. And they're like, well, when's he coming back? He's not coming back. The guy had my cell number, reaches out to me, invites me out for a drink, and starts to propose an offer to offer me a third. He had a business partner. His business partner wasn't at this first meeting, but he offered me at that. I guess the real thing is just go out with a guy and get him to get liquored up a little bit. He'll offer you a third of his company.
Yeah, there you go.
But we were at a Red Robin sitting at the bar and had a few pops, and he offers me a third of his business. No investment. Bring my intellectual property, bring my desire, bring my drive, bring what I've learned about the trades and everything else in my life, and help him build his 18-year-old company into something special. And the amazing thing is, Jared, the agreement was that I would only come into that facility 1 day a week. I wasn't going to be tied. I was not going to be the guy that had to be there for that stuff to run. I wanted to be the guy that could come in, set strategy, put systems and processes into place, set assignments for every man and woman in that organization as we scale, and then that next week come in and measure how far we've come over the last 7 days. And so that was my second go round in the trades, 2015.
How long were you involved in that business?
2015 to February of 2020. So August of 2015 to February of 2020 when I exited that company.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he reached out to you for a reason, I'm sure. So the company wasn't doing too well, I'm guessing.
18 years in business, they had most of their business was coming through commercial rooftop replacement units. And the business owners had a friend that was an attorney in Denver that owned a lot of commercial real estate. And so a lot of their business was coming from there. They'd also purchased a small residential company that they'd used to work for, essentially purchased the database when that gentleman decided to retire.
Gotcha.
And ride off into the sunset. So literally when I talk about purchasing the database, Jared, do you remember back in high school? I know I'm a little bit older than you, maybe a lot.
Dude, I don't remember anything from high school.
Do you remember the library when you went in and they had the Dewey Decimal System and you had to pull the long drawer out and then do the thing where you found and then somehow you had to match up 07.03.021 and you had to go down some aisle? I think there's a scene in Ghostbusters, something like that for you younger folks. Of course, that's an old reference too now. They had the Dewey Decimal System that they bought was a Rolodex system on a big giant thing like you would find in a library. And that was the customers of this other company.
Wow.
I walked into that company. They had done about $800,000 in revenue in 2015. That was their 18th year in business. Most of that being commercial rooftop changeouts. They had no website. They had no internet. They had no desk. They had no computer. They literally had a shop. They had no inventory system. They had a trailer, some ladders. I'll show a picture at your event tomorrow. Stuff strewn about, some sheet metal, a couple of brakes and some shears. That was it. They had never in 18 years, Jared, had a company-wide meeting, had never had a sales meeting. They didn't have a price book.
Wow.
Every service call that they ever ran, they called one of the business owners and asked him what the price would be. And I'm talking about, Jared, you're not going to believe this. In 2015, no CRM, they called the owner on every call, and he would work up a price on a flapper, on a partial toilet rebuild. He would work up a price on a igniter. He would work up a price on a 4-inch media filter, a 5-inch media filter. It was insanity.
That is insanity.
I looked at that and I said, you know what? If I can come in and do this the second time, and I'm not going to make the mistakes I made my first go round in the trades, all the things I learned and everything I learned from all those business owners and technicians as I trained across the country for those previous 5 or 6 years, I just said, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to put systems and processes and structures in place, not to like, I hear all like, I don't want to be in a straitjacket with a script, right? Well, Zig Ziglar, I mentioned him before. Zig said, every word out of a salesperson's mouth should be scripted, yet never should one word sound as though it is.
Yep.
And so when I'm talking about scripts, I'm talking about writing content in a way that sounds conversational, but that we're ultimately prepared. To me, that's what a script is. It's ultimate preparedness so that no matter what comes at us in life, in business, on a sales lead, on a service call, with a team member, with an employee, that we're prepared. That we've thought through this conversation a million times, and we can manage our emotional state. We can keep that, like if you think of a Coke can getting shook, a Coke can gets shook, and if you open it, it's going to explode. And that's the way we are a lot as contractors, right? We get flustered, we get frustrated, and we get so upset with our customers and our team, and then we explode. We got to be more like a water bottle. If I had a Coke can in this hand and a water bottle in this one, there's both 12 ounces of liquid. This one, I could shake it, shake it, shake it. That's how we have to be as men, as women, as leaders, that we don't get shook. We don't ever let them see us sweat. So when I'm talking about scripts, whether it's in a sales process, service, in a call center, working with our team as leaders, I'm talking about a way where we can mentally be prepared to know the proper and the words to say that can have an effective outcome. Right? Where guys aren't quitting and we're not throwing things. And listen, I've got a temper, right? I grew up in the woods. My dad was like, take you out to the woodshed in a heartbeat, right? But man, I'm telling you, I think one of the things that we are missing in the trades, as good as we are at doing our job in the field, we've got to start working a lot harder on being better leaders, being leaders of men and women, inspiring them, leading them, and not just when times are good. Our character is revealed when times are bad.
I concur.
And so I learned a lot in that first time around. That second time around, it wasn't easy, but we made a lot of progress really, really fast in that organization.
So you were involved for 5 years. What happened in 5 years? How far did you come?
Yeah. So within that first year and a half, we essentially 10x'd. I didn't put a single dime. A lot of people, a lot of times, when they hear that story, they go, well, it's easy. Like private equity comes into the market and they dump a bunch of cash and companies explode and they buy a bunch of trucks. We did it organically. So when I joined that organization in the fall of 2015, we started putting systems and processes in place. I went on the recruiting trail. If there's anything that I don't like to say I'm very good at many things, I just outwork people. What I have made sure I'm really good at is recruiting. I can get people to buy into a vision. And I would strongly recommend everybody watching this podcast, if you're not the type of person that can get in front of the room and get a group of men and women to follow your lead, that has to become priority number one. Yes, we got to get our price book in order. Yes, we've got to do all the things that Jared's showing us in the Wealthy Plumber, all of the operations, all the amazing things that you share, Jared. And I've been in your program for now over a year, I believe. The stuff that you have is liquid gold. But we also, if we want to scale, if we want to grow, if we want to have integrity, if we want to recruit A players and have people surrounding us that we want to be around every day, we've got to become a master of recruitment and a master of leadership once they're there. And so that's what I focused on. I started finding good people. I started training the ones that we had. I started putting accountability measures into place. That next year, without putting a dime of investment capital into that business, I mean, we didn't just raise prices. We pretty much doubled prices. We built a website. We started going out and doing door hangers. We knocked on doors. We did clover leafs. I mean, I'm talking about aggressive. I mean, listen, everything with honor, character, and integrity, Jared, but I'm talking about, You really want to know what aggressive is? Come ride with me for a week and watch how I run my life and my business. I'm talking about assertiveness. I'm talking about aggressiveness. I'm talking about never say die. There's things that are not going to go our way. We pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and we work harder the next day to fix it. And so that next year, what did that look like? We won Linux Partner of the Year. We won the #1 Linux award in the country 16, 17 months after I stepped foot into a facility.
How do you get that award? What does that mean? I've heard you say that a million times.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't know what it means.
We can invest the next 4 hours talking about why did we win that award? Because it wasn't just revenue, it wasn't close rates. It was about company culture. It was about how do you represent the brand, our brand, their brand. How do you operate within your community? How do you take care of people? There's so many things that an organization, I mean, Linux is one of the big four. If you're not familiar with Linux, I know a lot of people are more on the plumbing side on this podcast. Lennox is one of the big four. The big four are Daikin, the largest in the world, a Japanese-based company that built a 96-acre facility in Houston, Texas, under one roof. It's the second largest manufacturing facility in the world, only behind Tesla. And Daikin built that on American soil. And then you've got Carrier that owns a number of different brands. And then you've got Trane, and you got Linux. Those are the big four. So I am incredibly proud of winning a Linux Partner of the Year award. And essentially what that means is we were doing a lot of things right. We were taking care of our community. We were taking care of our people. We were representing our brand, their brand. I mean, within weeks, Jared, we went from a company that didn't have a website, didn't have any phone lines there. The phones were being answered part-time, 40 miles outside of town by one of the business owner's wives and his daughter-in-law, with babies crying in the background. An answering machine, not an answering service, an answering machine. One of the old school ones that did the leave a message at the tone, beep, and the longer the messages were, the longer it taken people to get back to them, it would just keep beep, and then you'd leave your message. And then they'd call people back a few days later. We took that organization and within months, we were dressed to the nines. Now, as the leader of the organization, yes, I wore a sport coat. That was part of the respect for the men and women because I wasn't trying to pretend like I'm a technician. Like I said, I have enough skills to be dangerous, and I grew up working with mechanics and tractors and stuff, but it's not my thing. So I felt it would be disrespectful if I dressed like a technician. To me, it's about respect, not disrespect. And so I would walk in every day, and I'm not saying a business owner has to dress like this, but I wanted to separate the fact that I'm not pretending to be you. I also am not expecting you to help me buy the next 3 vans. And when payroll increased to $180,000 on a biweekly payroll cycle, and we started a Monday with payroll due on Thursday with $0 in account at times, I never asked my guys not to take a paycheck, and I never asked them to take out a second mortgage on their loan or give me a cash advance on their credit card. There is a separation of church and state when it comes to entrepreneurship and the people that work for us. And I don't think we should apologize for that.
No.
And so I went in with that type of demeanor, that assertiveness, that attitude, owning it. There's a thing out there where people don't want to be put on blast in front of the company. Bullshit. If I had a job that went south on me, it's going on the big screen and we're all going to learn from it. I had an installer that was really upset with me that first month because his job was complete crap. You know, the condensate line wasn't run properly. We called it Pookie in Denver, the duct sealant and around the plenums. And, it just looked terrible. And so, and the job didn't get a proper startup. And the homeowners are calling and they're complaining. And I've got an unconditional 1-year test drive buy it back guarantee. I mean, we're lowering risk. We're increasing trust. And we're creating emotion in our sales leads. And this guy failed miserably in the promises that our sales team had made. So I had all the pictures. I went out and met with this homeowner. I walked into the next company meeting and I put every picture. He pulls me aside, wants to basically fight me in the parking lot. And he's like, pointing his finger at me. And he's like, you don't, and he'd been at that company for however long, a decade before I came in as the third owner. And he was like, you never put somebody on blast in front of the entire company. Well, let's just say that I did some effective listening and I was a water bottle for a little bit. And then I went into a whisper state after I let him have him say, and I said a couple of things. Number one, you'll never point your finger at me again. I sign your paycheck. It's not the other way around. We're making promises to these homeowners that we will fulfill. You will put my logo on, whatever logo that is. My name is on your paycheck. You will wear this like a badge of honor. And that job had nothing of a resemblance of a badge of honor.
Yep.
So this is your last chance. If you ever do a job like that again, you will never work here. I will fire you so fast your head will spin. This is your one and last opportunity to know we do jobs to perfection every single time. Sure, we'll make some mistakes, but it was those type of things, the meetings that we ran, the way we outlined a compensation structure for our team, performance-based, the way that we served our community, the way that we would get 5-star reviews, the way we were generating referral business. Those were the type of things that led us to Linux Partner of the Year. But before we even begin to move on from this conversation, Jared, one of the things I want to say to you is we accepted that award walking across the stage in Las Vegas at a big Linux Live event.
Mm-hmm.
We won for 2016. They had the event in March, I think, of 2017. And if I remember right, I think that year may have been at the Mandalay Bay or something. It was in Las Vegas. Another 30 days. So we won that award, but our business has kind of slowed. We didn't have a lot of good weather. We didn't have any bad weather, I should say, that drove the heating business in Denver in January and February. Usually those are pretty good months for us in the heating business in Denver. You get out of the holiday season, and then we get these Canadian cold fronts that come screaming down the Rocky Mountains.
Yep.
They drop. Most people think Denver's cold. It's not cold. If you ever spend a lot of time in Denver, our daytime highs in the winter often are in the upper 40s to low 50s. Sunny skies, no clouds, no overcast. We try to keep it a secret because Denver's getting overloaded, people moving in there. But then these Canadian cold fronts come in, and all of a sudden overnight lows will drop from the 20s to 10 below zero for 5 or 6 days in a row. And usually that can drive a lot of business. If a furnace is going to break, it's going to break in those cold snaps, right? And those happen usually in February and January. And we just didn't get those. And so our business slowed, but we had been buying so many trucks, inventorying trucks, wrapping trucks, hiring people, implementing Service Titan, buying iPads. I mean, Jared, scaling a business, it's expensive.
Yep.
And it never stops. It's like a machine that needs to be fed, and you just gotta keep feeding it, right?
Yep.
It's like a coal engine on a train. It just keeps chewing it up, and you got to keep feeding it. Well, everyone in our organization in that spring of 2017 was getting paid. Every truck payment was getting paid. Every employee, every bill was getting paid, except the supply houses.
Yep.
I got a call one day, just a month or so after we won Linux Partner of the Year. And they shut down our account. Told us we couldn't buy. I said, we got like 7 high efficiency jobs going in the next 2 days. I'll bring a check. I'll write a check. It was the first time I was going to have to put money in from my own pocket into this company. And they literally said, Doug, you're about $250,000, 90 days past due. Your money's no good here unless you can take care of the entire past due balance. So I got mad. Did one of those, fine, little Coke instead of water bottle.
Yeah, yep.
Didn't exactly hang up on him. And there's a lot more to the story, but that was the district manager. So I call a friend of mine over at Daikin. Daikin was our second supplier. And I'm just going to move all of those 7 orders to Daikin equipment. And I ended up going all the way to the top. He's a friend of mine that owned that distributorship for Daikin. And he says, Doug, you can't pick up any equipment here. I've been on the phone with some of the guys from Linux over the weekend, and we don't believe you're going to make it. Your account's been closed. We owed them $180,000 that was getting ready to tick 90 days past due.
Row.
So I called John Stone. John Stone's a big nationwide supplier, and we were buying all our parts and supplies from them, a lot of our inventory for the smaller stuff, equipment from Linux and Daikin, parts from Johnstone for all the service work. And I get on the phone with the general manager over there, and he says, we got a call this morning from some of your other suppliers, and we can't sell you anything. What do you do, Jared, other than cry? So I swallowed my ego, and I called down to Dallas, to the Ivory Tower, and I talked to the VP down there. Mike was nice enough to take my call. I think he saved my life. At the end of that call, he said, Doug, I'm not the kind of guy that makes house calls, but what are you doing tomorrow? He flew into Denver and he met with me and my leadership team for about 8 hours. I had taken a ownership stake a few years prior to that, all natural sleep aid.
Mm-hmm.
I was out doing some private on-site training for my speaking business. I built an all natural sleep aid between 2017 and that time frame. We got into Walmart, Walgreens, and CVS, and let me just say I was distracted. I had my hands in a lot of different things.
Yep.
Too many irons in the fire, and it was kind of like the guy at the basketball game spinning all the plates out at the halftime show.
Yep.
And he's got all the plates spinning. That's what I was doing. And I was doing everything okay, but I was not doing anything great. Even though we were just won awards and all that, I was just distracted, Jared. And so what I will say is, for those of us watching, sometimes when you see the guy down the street that looks like he's got it all together, you see all those new rap fans, you see the television commercials, you see the nice uniforms, you see hear the radio ads. It doesn't mean that he's profitable.
Nope. There's a bunch of pressure washers in Pensacola who think that right now about Dude Wash. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
They don't see the behind the scenes. They don't
No.
see the investment that goes into it. They have no idea.
So, you can relate to that, Jared. So, for those of you that have made it this far in this podcast, I think Jared and I can both encourage you, never give up, never give in. One of my favorite Winston Churchill quotes when I've really been in the thick of it in my life is that when you're going through hell, keep going. I think it was Abe Lincoln who said, never, ever, ever give up. I don't know what I would have done, man, but Mike opened us back up after about an 8-hour meeting. And I went and had a heartfelt, teary-eyed. I probably used a whole box of Kleenex in that meeting. I'm not embarrassed to say that. A lot of men say I never cry, and I'm telling you, my life was on the line. My dad committed suicide 22 years ago. And I got to tell you, during that week, some really ugly thoughts went through my mind. Think about all those families and what we'd built, and it was going to come crashing down. And when Mike opened us up that next morning, I had a meeting with the team, and I said, we will never, ever again waive a diagnostic.
Yep.
If we can't be good enough to build our value on these phones, on our website, if we can't create enough value to show we're worth $99 to send a man in a van with a drug test and a background check, with a trimmed beard and a beautiful, clean uniform tucked in with a name badge on, if we can't talk about being NATE certified, if we can't talk about how we're different and we can't get somebody to agree to bring us out for $99, they don't deserve us or we don't deserve them. We'll build our value. And that morning I said, we'll never again waive a diagnostic. We will get better. That same morning I said, we'll never waive any charge again, ever. We'll never drop our price on a service call, on a repair. We'll never drop our price on an accessory. We won't drop our price on a full system. We're going to be premium priced in our marketplace, and we're going to deliver the value, and we're going to communicate the value. And if you're not on board with that, then we part ways today. We're going to work harder. We're going to train more. We're going to get in here more. You're going to make more money because we're going to sell at higher prices. We're going to raise prices. We're never going to drop. We're never going to discount.
Yep.
And from that moment, Jared, it changed the game. I like to say that discounting is a drug. We believe that we have to discount. And I proved over that next year and every day thereafter for the rest of my life, you don't have to discount. It doesn't mean you're going to have a 100% close rate.
Nope.
I have proven that I believe there is about 65 to 70% of our marketplace that when shown the value, communicated with effectively, passionately, where the trust has been earned, the risk has been lowered, the emotion has been created and transferred, I believe there is about 65 to 70% of our marketplace that will pay for our premium value for our service. And we proved it. We saved our ass. That next year, not only did we stay debt-free on all new purchases, as we promised with our suppliers and had no choice, that was the agreements for them to open us back up at the supply houses. But we also paid off that debt over the course of that next year.
Nice.
And like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Jared, in 2018, we were named Lennox Partner of the Year again.
So if you had to go back and, I mean, you've kind of just rethought it all, but like, was the discounting the thing that was killing you, or was it a multitude of things? Was it you scaled too fast? Like, tell me more about that. Like, what got you in that situation that you then had to go in and climb out of there?
Yeah, great recognition as a contractor because you've lived it as well. It was a combination of things.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just start with discounting.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell your way out of anything. And of course, I'm talking about integrity. Our grandmother rule is, if you wouldn't recommend it to your very own grandmother, you sure as hell better not recommend it to your customer.
Mm-hmm.
So we live by that. So anytime I talk about sales, sometimes people kind of get their hackles up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a bad word a lot of times in the trades. Oh, I don't want to be in sales. I don't want to be a salesman. Well, you're killing your business and your career if you're not really good at sales, because you can't be premium priced.
Yep.
You can't sell your value if you're not great at sales. We have to be absolutely focused and just an absolute badass when it comes to sales.
Yep.
No other option. We also have to be great at our operations, which is one of the things that I just love about you and the Wealthy Plumber and the school group and the men and the women I see in there.
2 years ago, I would have disagreed with you.
Really?
I mean, well, maybe not totally disagreed, but
Share more about that.
Well, I was in the camp of like, we can overcome our need to be good salesmen. And it was really just like I wasn't thinking about it properly. I was like, we can overcome our need to be salesmen with good, solid operations and budgets and systems and processes. And then I started to realize and we kind of did at Prospector, like we did overcome it by being more expensive. And the reality was, like, once we started focusing on sales and teaching our guys to communicate, we actually were able to go around and offer our product to the customer even cheaper and make way more money. Like the second we started communicating to our customers the actual value of what we were selling, but I thought of it as sales. I had to like get rid of that sales mentality and go, no, we're just communicating what we're actually doing to the customer.
Yeah.
And because of that, now they buy from us more.
Yeah.
And we were able to increase close rates. Like, we jumped in your program, increase close rates without reducing prices, without discounting at all. But once those close rates were up, we discounted our prices even more because we could.
Yeah.
And our close rates didn't go up, but they bought more stuff from us. So they started buying, instead of one thing, they bought two things. Our average ticket went through the roof. And so that, like, just that focus on the sales portion of it took us it took us in 1 year from a $5 million company to a $6 million company. Same customers.
Right. And if I remember right, Jared, because you got into our program at Synergy, you had the same number of techs, or maybe even one less. You got rid of a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And you did $1 million more with the same number or less people during that year.
Yeah. There was a few things: sales training, focus on communicating our value. And then there was some commission structures that we reworked. But I mean, yeah, it was a big one.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because you and I were connected a couple of years ago by your client, Chris Dutel, who's now a really good friend of mine. And he'll be arriving here in town for your major event with Hoorah here.
Yeah. I
look forward to seeing Chris.
Chris is a cool guy.
An amazing guy. Yeah. Amazing husband, an amazing father.
Yep.
Great businessman. When I got to know Chris, he started telling me about you and your program. And I was thinking, Jared's going to see me as a competitor. There's a huge testament to your character, because you were open-minded enough, I think, to listen to Chris, because Chris is like, no, listen, I know he's wearing a sport coat. and Jared's like, no, I hate sleazy, slimy sales guys. I hate those guys, right? And to your character, Chris said, you gotta meet Doug. And he connected us. And it's just been an amazing relationship. And we have so many clients. I mean, the Wealthy Plumber has helped us expand, I think, into 6 new countries.
Sweet.
In the last year.
That's crazy.
Just amazing.
I didn't know that.
Right. And so huge gratitude for you, Jared, and just everything that you do. But as I started looking at your content, just blown away and impressed by the structure, the very specific nature of what you've done to put together for a trades business, to show them everything that they need to do. And then you obviously have some sales training and some communication stuff of your own, but you weren't egotistically driven to say, no, I got my own stuff. When you heard about ours, and it's like, well, here's a guy for 30 years that's been studying this, is in the trades. you plugged into our program and it was kind of like you just stacked wins on wins, right?
Mhm.
And so I appreciate that. And I've learned so much from joining you at the Wealthy Plumber and your program and being involved in those live.
I view
live
myself
things.
as the connector, the attention getter. Like if I can grab, people's attention on watching this podcast and get them in my program and we can get them the core foundations of their business figured out and then connect them with the other people that they need. That's a win
It's
in my
amazing.
book. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned PlumbLine and just all the people that you have. To me, your program, when they get into the school community and they join those weekly Zooms, bi-weekly Zooms,
Mhm.
those alone are worth millions more by the guests that you bring on and the people I've got to see on there. I mean, I've
Yep.
seen Dan Antonelli and Tommy Mello, and
Mhm.
I mean, the list just goes on. Brian Burton,
Yeah.
all these folks that have been on your show. You're just doing amazing stuff. You'd ask me, what was it? It was all those things. It was, we're discounting. We were buying into that drug. It's like when you're at the table and you think you're about to lose the sale and you know you could give 10% off.
Mhm.
Rather than lose it, we're going to start to justify in our mind that we should do it and that it's in the best interest of us for our commission, for our work. Whether you're the business owner or the technician or the salesperson, we start to justify. And many times rightfully so, because we learn through our experiences that, oh, they were saying they had to think about it or talk to their spouse or it was too much. And then we gave them 10% off and the job went from whatever, 900 to 810.
Yep.
Or it went from 9,000 to 8,000 or whatever it is. The scale is, it could go wherever you want there. And so then our brain starts to be conditioned that discounts work.
Yep.
What I've been able to do in my career with my people is condition them that you can still close 50, 60, 70% of the jobs you're on as long as you lead with value, you communicate with passion, you communicate effectively, you lower sales resistance by the words that we choose to share, the eye contact that we make, the way we look, the way we smell. Everything about everything matters. Details matter.
Mhm.
And when all those things are working together, we can sell at a good margin. What you mentioned about you increased close rates, you sold value and then lowered prices, sold more, sold twice as much. I don't disagree with that philosophy. It's a strategy. I mean, look at what Walmart's done with that same strategy, right?
Well, I don't even know if it was necessarily a strategy. Like we were overcoming our lack of communicating our value by being more expensive. Like we should have been less expensive the whole time and communicated our value.
Right.
It's really what it was. We were overpriced, in my opinion.
The funny thing about that is, Jared, when you study psychology and the psychology of sales and influence, simply by having a higher price communicates more value, which is crazy because now you look back and you go, you know what? We were overpriced because we weren't delivering the value, but we were high priced. Consumers see a high price and immediately attach more value to a higher price.
Yeah.
When you do that, yes, you got some of those value shoppers. I believe there's a third of the market that will go cheap. There's a third of the market that will buy on value, and there's a third that could go either way. It's like a pendulum that swings at the bottom of this pie chart. The people that are cheap, there's nothing we could do or say to ever earn their business if we're premium priced. Sometimes those people actually fall into the category that they just get enveloped in the emotion of our sales process.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that call and cancel the next day.
Yep.
Just let them go. It always hurts when you were counting that commission or that revenue or whatever, and then they cancel. Maybe it's worth saving it. Maybe it's not. But if you're going to have to discount it, I say it's not worth saving it. There's this other side that's the value side, another third of the market. If you don't have a third or a 33% close rate, you're not doing a very good job in your marketplace. We've got to get better at our communication. Because there's a third of the market that anyone in business, sales, products, services has proven worldwide, there's a third of the people that will buy without a discount. And by the way, if you have an iPhone, you didn't get a discount.
Nope.
None of us have ever gotten a discount. Steve Jobs set that strategy that we're going to be premium and we're never going to discount. You can't find a coupon for an iPhone. There's no discount ever, right? So people will buy if the value is there. And premium priced, I mean, iPhone's the most expensive phone in the market.
Yep.
So people still have iPhones, right?
And we don't need them either.
You don't.
We want them.
Right.
Yep.
Right. We want them. It's not a need, it's a want. And we buy them and we find the way and we'll take on payment plans and all of those things, right? And so there's a third of the market that when we communicate our value, they'll pay our premium price and they don't need a discount. But it doesn't mean they won't ask for a discount. It doesn't mean that they won't sound like the other third that's the cheap. And then there's the third that could go either way. Sometimes they buy cheap, sometimes they buy value. And Jared, that's where I am on this. I think this is where you are on this. It has nothing to do with how much you have in your bank account. It has to do with what you attribute value to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. If I was to buy a home or a car, I want to drive nice things. I want to live in nice places because I work incredibly hard and I've sacrificed a ton over my life. I'm going to buy a good cut of meat. I'm going to eat good food.
Yep.
When I go to Mexico, I'm going to go by Walmart and buy a pair of Shaqs and Ones, flip-flops. I'm not going to go get some Calvin Kleins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't own a branded name of sunglasses. All of those things that I know I could lose are all Walmart or Amazon, cheapest of the cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I do buy cheap things.
Mm-hmm.
I also have an expectation that those things are going to fall apart. And if I leave my sunglasses in a rental car or my sandals float away while I'm out in the ocean,
Yep.
then that's where the universe wanted them to be. If somebody walks by the beach and steals my sandals while I'm floating in the ocean, they needed them more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I also bought 2 more pairs at $4 or $3 a piece, and they're back at the room. So now I've got 2 more pairs on that trip, just in case. And I really mean that. It's like, why would I have the anxiety of trying to keep an eye on my stuff up on the beach when I invested all this money to get to the beach, to enjoy the ocean, to sit in the sun and the sand and the salt water,
Yep.
and then be keeping an eye up there because my $400 shades or my $100 pair of sandals is going to walk away on the beach. So my point in saying all that is all of us as consumers have decisions to make when it comes to the product or services that we invest in. I am going to set strategy to go after the value-based customer and the other third that could go either way. My responsibility and the responsibility of my team, the website, the videos, the phone calls, the door knocks, the entryways, the sales process, our responsibility is to communicate our value with every single word that we share.
Yep.
The words we share do matter. The way we share them matters. Our cadence, our sentence structure, the way we listen. I've created frameworks for all of that, and it works and it wins awards when implemented. But it doesn't matter how good our scripts are. It doesn't matter how good our training is, Jared. If we don't lead where people want to follow us,
Mm-hmm.
if they're not inspired to go out there and take care of the organism, the company, and the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their own family. So there's inspiration, motivation that works into this. And then we've also got to make sure that every single day we wake up ready to perform. A sales process, a call center process, a service process, it's a performance
Mm-hmm.
like we're on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I use this example in our live events a lot. Jared, if you and I came up with a script that was entered into a worldwide competition for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical companies, and somehow, some way, you and I won a worldwide competition for the best script, call center tech, sales, and ours won. The question I have for the audience is, could we hand that script that is award-winning, that was hands down voted the best script in our industries worldwide, over millions of entries, could your technician take that script and make it the worst?
Heck yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
The same script, they wouldn't have to leave out a single word. They could literally memorize it. They could deliver it word for word the way that you and I created it. The difference is the performance of the script. And by the way, anybody that says I don't like scripts, if you are on script and you sound scripted, it's an excuse. We can have 2 things in this life, but never at the same time. Results are excuses. If you're sounding scripted or your team is on script and sounds scripted, it simply means you're not ultimately prepared. Because anything that we work hard enough on, as far as a process or a script, it shouldn't sound scripted. That's what Zig said. Zig said every word out of a salesperson's mouth should sound scripted, but never should one word sound as though it is.
How do you get to that point practically? Like, I can get in your program, I can watch the videos, I can get bought in,
Yep.
I can get the booklet, I
Yep.
can get the scripts.
Yep.
What do they do? Like, they have all that information. How do they practically make it not
Yeah.
sound scripted?
All of that you just outlined, Jared, is a great start, and none of it's going to help.
Right.
You made the investment.
Yeah.
You watched the videos. We created the videos over 30 years of study and content and 3 years in studio. You ordered the workbooks.
Yep.
They got shipped to you. FedEx did their job.
Yep.
The scripts are in there. They're refined. They're proven. They've worked to grow award-winning companies, mine and many others. How do you implement it? And that is where that's the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, what I like to say we do at Synergy is solve the challenge of implementation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. We can go to like this event that you're throwing tomorrow. Incredible. The speakers that you're bringing in, the content that's going to be delivered, the people flying in from all over the country and some people from probably the world. None of it's enough. What's going to matter is what do they record? What do they write down? And even that's not enough. What do they do when they get home? And what do they do every single day?
Yep.
What do they wake up thinking? What do they wake up reprogramming themselves? And if their team wasn't here, now what? Now they come back excited. The team's rolling their eyes, by the way, while they're gone. Anytime you go to an event, your team's back at the shop rolling their eyes going, oh, here we come. When he comes back, just weather the storm.
He's going to have a million ideas.
It's going to be a million ideas. It's going to be crazy for a few weeks around here. Just push back a little, kind of pay it lip service, and then it'll go away in 30 days.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we as business owners a lot of times buy into that. The difference between men like you and I and all of the other successful companies out there that have scaled, Jared, and have done it profitably, is that we are maniacal. We are tenacious when it comes to accountability and ongoing implementation. So what we've done at Synergy is it's not just enough to watch the videos. It's not enough to get the workbooks. It's not enough to read the scripts. It's not enough to look at them occasionally. It's going to take reprogramming our brains. There's a guy named Ebbinghaus who has this forgetting curve that he outlined in like the 1800s. This information has been around for nearly 200 years. Just about the time that we start to forget, we've got to dive back in and we've got to go back in and study, restudy. We've got to say the words out loud. The biggest mistake that I see people make in our trades when they try to implement a system, especially when it comes to processes, I'm not talking necessarily about operations, those have to be implemented too. But when it comes to a verbal process, sales, service, call center, we've got to say it over and over and over again. We've got to work on not just the words that we're sharing, but the cadence, the tone, the volume, everything in the way in which we're sharing them. I'll give you just an example here in a minute. But to clearly answer your question, what I did at my company that changed the game is I got 1 week, just 1 week ahead of all of this. So what do? I have a company-wide meeting on a Tuesday. Anybody doing meetings on a Monday, I ask you to stop. Mondays are crazy. Mondays are for us to kind of get recentered, rebalanced, get back in there, get some work done. We come in from the weekend and most people are just like, they're living for the weekend. They're drinking their 6-packs or their 12-packs on the weekend, right? They're watching their football. They watched college football on Saturday. They watched Sunday football in the morning. They watched, game day on Saturday morning. And then they watched all the college football. And then they tried to throw the ball with their kid. And then, right? And then 3 or 4 games on Sunday. And then they're watching Sunday night football. And then they can't wait for Monday night. And all the while their rent's not getting paid and whatever. It doesn't resonate with me. I'm not saying not to have some balance in your life. All right? But here's what I am saying. Don't do a meeting on a Monday. It's worthless. Maybe not worthless. It's better than doing no meeting.
Full disclosure, we do meetings on Mondays.
Okay. Stop it.
Okay.
Everybody, hey, to each their own. You do it at Dude Wash.
We do it at Dude Wash. We did it at Prospector too. But I can totally see what you're saying. Like
on Tuesdays, what I find is my team is much more settled down. Plus, it's kind of like having an exam on a Monday. Yeah, you can try to study all the time, but now your weekend's busted because you had to do that and get ready for Monday. What I like to do is give my team a little bit of balance, and I let them to kind of come in and let their, listen, there is something as far as like our wiring. And so you tell me, how do you feel on Sunday? Now, a lot of us business owners, if you're a business owner watching this, we never stop working.
No.
But your people like to stop working.
When I worked for somebody else, Sunday was my least favorite day.
And why was that, Jared? Why?
Because I had to go to work on
And
Monday.
What's your least favorite night of the week?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. You want to make it even worse? Have a Monday morning meeting where you expect people to come in and role play on Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. I just say, listen, let's get our Monday out of the way. Mondays suck in the trades. Mondays are always my worst day in the trades. The answering service has picked up all these different calls. We've got people that are pissed over the weekend. Jobs were, didn't work out, or heating and air conditioning systems didn't fire up. People are upset. You got leads that have come in and they need to be called back and they sat there for a day or whatever happened. Mondays are a nightmare. The guys are coming in, they got their paperwork and they're trying to get their calls, and we've got jobs staged, and Mondays are a nightmare. The last thing I want to do is add to the nightmare and have a meeting. Let's get our week settled. I like to come in at least on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll do them on a Wednesday. I used to do them Wednesday. I tried both. I don't recommend Thursday or Friday either. The reason for that is by that time, people are already thinking about the weekend, right? They're already planning their fishing trip. They're planning their camping trip. Their mind's on that.
Yep.
So I do like early in the week. I just don't like Monday because people hate Sundays because of Mondays, right?
Yep.
All right. So even if you like Mondays, and you and I probably love Mondays because we're business owners, your people don't like Mondays, okay? So let's just not fight the current. All right. So on Tuesday morning, I started my meetings at 6:30. When I say get ahead by 1 week, Jared, this is what I would recommend. Whether you ever join the Wealthy Plumber or Synergy, which I think you should definitely join the Wealthy Plumber. And if you're in that, you might as well join Synergy because we work very well together.
Agreed.
What I would say is you don't need me, and you honestly don't need Jared. We can save you years and years and millions of dollars of heartache. But do this. Pick one topic and give your team an assignment. So if I have a meeting at 6:30 to 8 on a Tuesday morning, which I did, and those were always company-wide meetings. Those meetings were so dynamic. Those meetings were so well prepared. And that's what we do at Synergy. We create weekly Synergy sessions so that you don't have to go through this. It used to take me an entire week, basically, 80% of my week to prepare the perfect meeting. Plus, I was preparing my service meeting, my sales meeting, my call center meeting, my leadership meeting.
Yep.
And that also included a financial meeting. I was in the office on Tuesdays and all day long, probably about 14 hours. And it was just a marathon every Tuesday. At the end of every meeting in every department, I had proactively prepared an assignment in writing. And that's key. It's got to be in writing. So let's just say this. Let's say that you don't have anything prepared for this meeting this Tuesday. Great. What you do have to do, in my opinion, to scale a business and to get to where you want to be without pulling your hair out and just being miserable in these trades, at the end of the meeting, the last 10 minutes needs to be to describe the assignment for this week. Let's take one example. Your people are telling you that homeowners are telling you that I got to think about it. Now, homeowners are also saying, I got to get 3 bids. I got to think about it. Your price is too high. Got to talk to my spouse. You can't solve it all. Rome wasn't built in a day. But what you can do is solve one towards mastery every single week. And that's what I did in my companies. And that's what we do at Synergy. That's what we help our clients do by creating weekly Synergy sessions to go with the core, to go with the workbooks, to go with the videos. We create these weekly meetings. Imagine this, Jared. This week, if we are willing to admit that we can't solve it all, at the end of my meeting at about 10 till 8, I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, at least the ones in the field, okay? So now I'm talking to my field staff. We've been struggling with homeowners saying, I got to think about it. There's no better time to close the sale, especially at margin, than when the emotions are high, we've lowered risk, we've communicated our value, we're there in front of them. Homeowners are designed to do their fiduciary responsibility to ask for a cheaper price and tell us they got to think, sleep, pray, talk to the spouse. It's never going away. And if it's never going away, and it's going to happen over the next 10 calls, 100 calls, 1,000 calls, 100,000 calls that we run in these trades, why would we not master how to overcome and address, and I got to think about it, objection? I don't understand. I literally can't understand how we would not say, this is one of the things that is keeping us from where we could be. So what do? I give them an assignment. It is literally a 60-second role play, scripted word for word. Now, with our program, they also get video of me doing it with the body language, the voice inflection, the tone. They not only have the script, they can listen to it. No excuses. I said this a little bit ago. We can have 2 things in our life, Jared, but never at the same time. Results or excuses, not both. So what I would say to my team is, every single week, team, we're going to work on something to do with our mindset, the way we think, the way we go about our lives, the way we serve our community, the way we serve our family, the way we internalize our emotions, the way we speak to our kids. We're going to work on something every single week that has to do with our mindset. We're doing a book of the month club. We're going to read this chapter. We're going to have this meeting. I'm going to assign you this YouTube video. That's going to be on their assignment sheet, a mindset. The second thing is every single week, every single call, we have to run process. So in my mind, process starts from the call ahead, the arrival, the door knock, the entryway, the going to perform the diagnostic. How do we work our way around the house? If we're called on a leaky toilet, how do we evaluate the water heater? How do we get to the kitchen sink? How do we look at drains if we were called to look at a toilet?
Yep.
That's a skill set. Those are words that we must choose to share and the way in which we choose to share them and when we share them. All of those things must have structure, but if once we have structure and process, now we can work on assignments, small, manageable, bite-sized chunks. So on my assignment sheet, they're going to have one small little section of their process. Call ahead, door knock, entryway, kitchen table, diagnostic, presenting the offer, asking for the order. Boom, that stops there. That's process all the way up to asking for the order.
You're just going to go over one of those.
Just one.
Just one.
One little section.
Yep.
No more than about 60 to 90 seconds. I'm going to get to the real point of this here in a minute. And then one thing every week on their assignment sheet, again, 60 to 90 seconds of scripted role play, a technique that's proven, that is high service, not high pressure. And that is going to be also part of their assignment, and that's closing, okay? So I'm going to rehash. One assignment a week is something to do with what are we thinking?
Mm-hmm.
How are we behaving? How are we internalizing? How are we setting our goals? That's mindset. Every week we've got a mindset thing. This is creating our company culture across all departments so that we're all on the same page. Then we have a process. The call center is going to have process things that they have to study. Leadership for having a disciplinary meeting. Leadership for meeting with distributors. Leadership for meeting and negotiating with suppliers. Whatever that is, they're going to have an assignment on how they get better in their process. And then all of us are going to have an assignment on once we ask for the order and we get pushback, how do we handle that? Some of them were really fun, Jared. Sometimes we would teach parents how to handle stuff with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the kids would push back and not want to do their chores or whatever, we would plug that into our 7 foundations of effective communication, and that would be their assignment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, life, business, work can be fun. We can have some fun. And so to answer your question is, okay, I've made the investment. I've ordered the program. I've got the videos. I've watched the videos. I've got the workbooks. I've got your scripts. Now what?
Yep.
Now it's mastery. And now it is 0 excuses. For those of you watching today, if you have people in your organization that are going to allow you to invest in them, buy their uniforms, buy their trucks, buy their iPads, put them on these softwares, build a website, answer those calls, dispatch them to your leads, send them out into your community with your logo on, in your uniforms, in your van, with your fuel, with your insurance, and you hand them something and ask them to study, to work on themselves, to be a better husband, to be a better wife, to be a better parent, to be a better person, to be a better teammate. If you hand them a sheet that says, here's your process that we work on that you were hired to do here to serve our customers, and here's a sheet that also has an assignment with 60 seconds of role play that homeowners are never going to stop telling us they got to get bids or look at other brands or talk to their spouse or their handyman or their parent and get a second opinion or a coworker, or that your price is too high or they got to sleep on it, pray about it. It's never going away. And if your person looks at you with all that you're doing and they say, I ain't doing it, I'm speechless. What? Now, I'm not saying we got to fire them. We have to become better leaders.
Yep.
We've got to have a meeting, a lot more water than Coke. We can't explode. We've got to be prepared for this. We've got to understand, okay, something's going wrong with this person's life. And they're telling us, even though we're the name on the truck or we're the name on the check, they're telling us how we're going to run our business and what they are and what they're not going to do. See, the way I win awards, Jared, is that just doesn't fly with me. The way you scale your business and add another $1 million in revenue is that doesn't work in our organizations. And so I encourage you to, if you're listening to this and that's you, doesn't mean you go in there and wipe out your team this week. It means that we've got to start working on ourselves. We got to start thinking differently, reading different things, studying different things. It's not enough to be a great technician. It's not enough to be the best in town at what you do. We've got to make sure people know about us. We've got to make sure people understand the value that we bring. And then we've got to bring that to the table every single time. And so here's the way my meetings look. They walk out there with that assignment sheet. I've given them all the tools. They have the scripts, they have the audio, they have the video, they have the mindset, they have the expectation. I'm expecting the energy, the effort, the enthusiasm. You bring no energy, no effort, no enthusiasm to my organization, I can't be around you. I'm a high energy guy. I get very passionate. I have very high expectations because I got a lot riding on this, and so do you. Meaning the team members, right? I don't even like to call them employees. I call them my team members because I grew up playing sports, and so they're my teammates. But this is not a democracy.
Nope.
Not in business.
Nope.
I love our democracy, Jared. I love the United States of America. I bleed red, white, and blue. But my business is a dictatorship. I'm willing to hear your thoughts. I'm not lopping off heads and having a guillotine out there just because you have a different opinion. But if you have a different opinion about how we're going to go to market, how you're going to wear your uniform, how you're going to be unkept, untucked, not have your teeth brushed, hair disheveled, come in drunk, you don't work here. It's just that simple.
Yep.
Right? So we have to run a dictatorship with a little bit of democratic ways of saying, bring me your ideas, bring me your suggestions, let me know what's going on in the field, let me know how I can improve. And then we have to have the ability and the wherewithal to hear the hard things and say, okay, if that's the way they feel, 100% responsibility, right? Jocko Willing, extreme ownership. We got to dig deep. We got to keep digging until we find ourselves as the reason for the problem, the challenge, the issue. And once we find that, we go to work to fix it. So number one, I got to have attitude, effort, energy, enthusiasm. But if I hand you the sheet and you roll your eyes or you say, I ain't doing it, well, take your uniform off because you don't work here, right? It is that simple when it comes to that. Now, I would say if this is a person that's been working with me, they don't have that conversation with me because I've already set the stage that we don't act like that. We don't behave like that. And if I had set the stage and let's say that I got a guy been working for me a long time and he has that attitude, I'm not firing him on the spot. I'm going to say, ooh, Charlie, sounds like there's some things that are really bothering you right now. Why don't we grab dinner tonight? Or why don't come in tomorrow morning early? Let's get here about 5 tomorrow. And I really want to learn what's going on. I'm going to have a very empathic conversation to learn. Maybe he's got some marriage problems. Maybe his ex-wife is threatening to never let him see his little boy again if he works one more on call. So I'm never saying, hey, we just, lop off somebody's head because they made one ill comment. What I am saying is we have to proactively say that that's not the way we operate around here. If you do then have somebody in the face of that, then they got something going on in their personal life. They got some trouble with their finances. They got health. They got relationship challenges. They got spiritual challenges. And so our job as leaders, Jared, is to be better at that. And so we've got to be more empathic. We've got to be better listeners. We've got to be what I like to say is about 90% teddy bear in our business, 90% grizzly bear. There's a meme out there that I love. It's this kitty, it's this cat with a big shadow on the wall of a lion. Mm-hmm. You've seen it?
Yep.
And it says something like, do not mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yep.
Do not mistake my kindness for weakness. Your team needs to know that badass resides within you, the grizzly bear. They don't want to see the grizzly bear. Sometimes the grizzly bear has to kind of come up to the surface a little bit, right? But it doesn't mean you have to yell. You can actually create more emotion through a whisper and with intensity than you do with screaming at people. So here's what I would say. They walk out of there with that assignment. I don't want to quite go to say I don't care what they have to do to make sure that they perfect it, master it, but I don't care what they have to do because I didn't over-assign. I gave them a mindset thing that's going to be good for them for the rest of their life. Science is sharing with us, Jared, that we have 70,000 thoughts a day as a human race, and 56,000 of those are negative. Every one of us, you, me, the hottest chick at the bar, the biggest business owner with a $100 million company, every one of us, scientifically, our brain is programmed to give us 70,000 thoughts on average, 56,000 of which are negative. 80% of our thoughts are negative. That's a big hill to climb every single day when our eyes pop open and we get out of bed. And so I believe we have to work on our mindset with our team. We have to give them the tools and the resources to work on that for themselves, for their career, for their families. Then process. We should never apologize for expecting our team to run a process.
Right.
Consistent actions generate consistent results. Random actions generate random results.
Yep.
So if I don't have consistent actions and a consistent system, how can I measure that and how could I improve? How could I tweak it? You can't if you don't have a process.
Yep.
I've got to have consistent actions there which I can measure. And then we get down to the closing sequence, which is, again, is a process. I've got to be prepared for bids and brands and stalls and price. And there's 2 types of stalls, available party and unavailable party. And we've got to be able to recognize those when the customer hits those with us. If it's a sleep, pray, right? Or if it's a spouse, handyman, coworker, neighbor, right? It's one's unavailable. Even if it's a pray, well, even if you need to talk to your Lord and Savior, it's not like you can schedule a time with him to come over and sit down at the table and outline the project with you, right? Yep. And I'm not even being facetious or blasphemous. What I'm saying is that means that there's still more risk and less trust. When trust goes up, risk goes down. When risk goes up, trust goes down. right? So if somebody's telling me they're not ready to move forward, then I'm going to say something like, it sounds like you have some concerns and you're not quite ready to make a decision. If they tell me that's the spouse, I've got to have ways that I keep that conversation going. I'm not going to hard close them, Jared. I'm going to allow their emotions, their concerns, their worries, their previous experiences, their upbringing. I'm going to allow them to bring those out. And then I'm going to remind them of things that I outlined in my process, that we're the most value and why we're worth it, right?
Yep.
And how we're going to stand behind our work and how we're not the average contractor. All those things are part of the process. When I get down to the end, I've got to have the mindset combined with my process in closing, because this is where it gets hard, Jared, because it's really hard for us when we've been programming and conditioning our minds that we don't want to be in sales. We don't want to be a salesman. I want to be a tradesman. I'm the best plumber there's ever been, right? We're the health of the nation. All those things are true. But you know what? If you're upset about the big companies, the white shirts often that we get all upset about, and they're charging 5 times what we do, and we say they're ripping you off. Well, you know what? My recommendation is, and this is what I share with our audiences all over the globe, my recommendation is get pissed. Get pissed and do something about it. And that is start communicating your value of how you're better than them. And maybe you're not even $17,000 on a tankless water heater. Maybe you're 5, or maybe you're 8, or maybe you're 9. Whatever your pricing is based on your margins and your overhead, that's where you should be. You should not reduce your price just because another guy across town is selling a tankless and installing it with all the permits for $3,300. He's losing his ass.
Yep.
Right? He's going to go out of business. And then the one that you're mad about that's selling it for $17,000, and you're like, they're ripping people off. Okay, get mad about it and show them how you're worth 9. Whatever. I'm throwing numbers out there, right? All the markets are different. The pricing's going to change. If you watch this 5 years ago and you watch it 5 years from now, this thing will be around forever, right? So here's what I would say. When you get down to the end, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where every word has to be practiced and scripted and mastered. That's why every single week we work towards mastery. When my team walks in, whatever department they're in, they will have mastered a couple of 60 to 90 second role plays. And every week we're going to stack those. We're going to stack those wins. 52 weeks from now, you're going to have a team of absolute tenacious badasses, serving customers better, communicating better. But it's going to take the tenacity to have the meeting every Tuesday. It's going to take the tenacity to have the assignment get 1 week ahead in your business, just one 1 week, and then have the accountability, the grizzly bear nature to say, come hell or high water, no matter what, we all walk in here. And you know what, Jared? Every once in a while, you're going to have somebody that didn't get it done. Their grandfather passed away. Okay, you get a pass. I'm not an asshole. You get a pass. You're going through a divorce. You had a court date. Your mind's all screwed up. You couldn't sleep for 3 straight nights. I'm also going to say, what did you listen to between calls? My program's on audio. My program's on video. If these scripts, I don't expect people to read. I don't expect people to watch a video while they drive. We all have these devices, Jared. And you know what I'd say to my team if they ever told me they didn't have time? And I told them this before I would do it. I would say, before you ever tell me you didn't have time, that this was more important to me than it was to you for your career, for our company, for our community, for the way we communicate that we serve. I need you to open your phone and I need you to go to your screen time. I had this little thing where it shows them exactly how to do it, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. And I need you to screenshot that and text it to me so we have a record of it. So if you're going to tell me you didn't have time to memorize, to study, to practice, to train, to role play, and walk in here as a master of this 60 seconds of content, you're going to send me your screen time and you're going to show me how long were you on Facebook? How long were you on Instagram? How long were you on TikTok? How long were you on the fishing YouTube channel, right?
Yep.
Listen, we all need balance. We all need to hit the links and go golf. We all need to do the mountain bike ride. We all want to go hunting. We all want to do that. But I'll be damned if I'm going to do those things in place of taking care of my family, building my business, serving my team, serving my community.
Yep.
To me, those things, I don't know if I should say come first, but they better be a high priority because everything else flows from there. And if you say to me that money's not important to you, I'll say this: money isn't everything, but it sure can help you fund your trips around the world looking for happiness. And
I agree.
The other thing I'll say is you can't buy another van without money or at least credit. You cannot inventory that van with another $3,500 worth of Mastercraft shelving or another $15,000 worth of plumbing supplies or HVAC supplies.
Yep.
You can't build a better website. You can't do more SEO. You can't do more Google LSA. You can't hire the next best technician. You can't outline the next best compensation structure and have the best uniforms and the best wrap. It all takes money. And where does money come from? Margin. And where does margin come from? Premium pricing. And how do you sell at premium pricing? Training, scripting, role playing, practicing. So that's how you do it. Workbooks, investment, it's all a great start. Going to conferences, going to the live events, it's all a great start. What really matters, Jared, is when we get home, what do we do? Not just the next day, every day. And what are we outlining for our team? And if you don't have a team yet, it's even more important that you learn this stuff yourself so that when you have a team, you can be a better leader and that they can look up to you and go, man, I hope one day I'm as good as Jared.
Yep.
Man, I hope one day, I'm as good as Chris Dutel in front of the room when he does that role play. Man, when Jake Clemens, a mutual client of ours who's running his business from Israel and his company's in Mississippi, and he's cleaned house and he's brought guys in and he's doing the meetings through Zoom, no excuses. He's doing videos to his team a couple of times a week. He's in Israel and his team's in Mississippi, and he's an absolute boss.
Yep.
He is a strong leader. Oh, and by the way, he's 32. The guy's an absolute, he's a killer in a good way. And he loves those guys and he tells them how much he loves them, but he's strong and he has high expectations. That's what we got to do. Assignments, get 1 week ahead and then hold them accountable to it. And by the way, our job as a leader is to give the assignment when they come in and they role play and they nail it in the call center, the techs, the installers, the sales, the leadership, and you go through all those meetings and they've mastered it. At the end of that meeting, here's next week's assignment. You do that for a year, you never look back. And you'll see the difference within a few weeks.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
Thank you for the thorough answer. You're obviously very passionate about this. Why is that?
A couple things. Number one, I came from nothing. I had an amazing mother that believed in me. She was like, and she's still around. Her name's Connie. She lives in Nixon, Missouri. And she was always like, Douglas, you can do anything you set your mind to. And then I'd go play my games. And my dad was the guy that would never hug me, never tell me he loves me. It was always like, why didn't you cut off the baseline? Why didn't you block that guy out? It'd be like, I could put up 40, hit the game-winning shot against all odds, and there was never any kudos. And I think that's where it starts. We all carry baggage from our childhood, good and bad. And I've done a lot of introspection over the years to say, why am I the way I am? And I take, there are two different personalities. And I kind of mesh those into mine. I'm intense, and I think that came from basketball. I was the guy that we could be down by 10 with 60 seconds to go, and I still believed we were going to win. I was going to get the guys in the huddle, rally the troops. I was going to say, come on, we got to get a three. We're going to full court press. We got to get a steal. Then we're going to foul, get him to miss one. I'm like, I'm just doing the math. Like I'm planting the seeds in my teammates' mind that we will not fail, right? And so I think a big part of my passion came from fourth quarter comebacks in high school. Just realizing that, the old adage that it's not over until the fat lady sings. Even if she's singing, I don't think it's over. Man, my back was against the wall in 2017 and nobody thought we were going to make it. Sometimes I even look back now, and that was 8 years ago. And I still can't believe that we made it, but it wasn't me. Part of it was me, but it was the people that I had recruited that first year and a half. It was the way that I'd led them, the way that I loved them, the way that I had them to my home. And my wife at the time, the way we fed them, broke bread with them, grilled for them, got to know their wives. And when the shit hit the fan, they didn't quit. They didn't quit on me. They said, we got this. And I think that all leads to why am I really this passionate? Because I feel like most of us are underselling ourselves. I'm nothing special. I'm not the smartest. I, I I didn't get good grades in school when I did because it was easy.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I would sit in the kitchen with the window open in my boxers in the middle of a Boulder winter, shivering to stay awake and study while I also built my door-to-door cruise. Um, I look at the struggle out there in the trades, especially, and it truly hurts my soul. It doesn't have to be that way.
Nope.
When I get passionate, it's not because I'm actually angry. If I am angry, it's because I I probably come across as angry sometimes because I just know what's on the other side of some discipline. Um, I've been fat. I was a college athlete, and then I was traveling a lot and eating a lot of fatty foods and drinking a lot of beers and down a lot of whiskeys, and I put on 80 pounds. Um, During COVID, a lot of people put on weight, and I just saw it as an opportunity. I'm not on the road. I'm not in hotels. I'm not out speaking. I got a gym in my basement. What is my excuse? I can meal prep, and I shed 80 pounds. I did 75 hard to start this year. Started drinking a gallon of water. I quit drinking coffee because it's just I like to challenge myself. I quit drinking soda 5 years ago. I've never been alcoholic. I hate to make this joke, but I'm going to. That's what I'd say if I was. I've never been an alcoholic. I've been very fortunate not to have the disease, and it is a disease. I've known people that have it. It's nothing to, joke about, but I've never been an alcoholic, but I really enjoy a good beer and a good whiskey. A couple of years ago, I decided it didn't serve me well. I just quit. Haven't had a drink in years. Soda's always been my nemesis because I didn't get a lot of that growing up. We got to eat out one time a year growing up, and we went to Burger King. And even though that was our one time out, we didn't get to get a soda at the fountain. We had to get water. And so as I got older and I could buy my own soda, I drank it like the big gallon jugs from 7-Eleven. I'd fill that thing up once or twice a day, 64 ounces.
Yep.
That'll put on the weight. I ate a lot of fast food. I love fast food. And so I just decided I was going to be better in every area of my life. I turned 50 recently, and I said, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life at 50. And now I say I'm going to be in the best shape of my life at 51. And I'm on track. I'm in the best shape of my life since I was a college athlete. And my goal this year is to be in better shape than I was as a college athlete. And I'm on track. I challenged myself on January 1 because I know caffeine's not good for me. And I went and got a bone density test. And I had osteopenia at 49, which is early onset osteoporosis.
Yeah.
I'd lost some bone density. And I found that out in November. And so this year on January 1, I was starting 75 hard. And I went over to the coffee machine, and I know that caffeine's not good for you. And they say it attributes to brittle bones. And so I just said, I'm not doing it. I've already quit soda. Now I quit alcohol. I quit caffeine. I drink a ton of water. I like flavored water and sparkling waters and all that, but it serves me better. I'm driven. I want to leave a legacy. I hope to have an impact. And the thing that really gets me going is when people come up to me and they say, man, Doug, when I met you or when I heard you speak or when I joined your program, I was here and now I'm here. And Jared, it's not about revenue. What really, really touches me is when they say, I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, my family loves me again. My kids talk to me. All the effective communication stuff that we teach at Synergy directly applies in the family.
Yep.
So I think the passion just comes from, I got a chip on my shoulder, maybe as big as planet Earth, knowing where I came from. All the people that counted me out said, you can't do that. In basketball, they said I was the wrong color. I wasn't tall enough. In business, I didn't have enough money. And then it's funny, no matter where you go, you're never enough, right?
Yep.
In the trades, oh, you went to college, you're not one of us, and then I go and build a sleep aid and I'm talking to these big, people in Walmart and Walgreens and I don't have a master's degree. Oh, you're not one of us, oh, you didn't go to an Ivy League school. It never ends,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just look at that and I say, man, I got to be me every single day. Just in case we wrap this up, every single day for 30 years, Jared, I've been doing at least an hour of personal development every day. I've not missed a day. I've already done it today. I'll do it probably again today. An Audible, an app on your phone through Amazon makes it really easy listening to books. I find it hard many times, unless I was doing 75 hard, where you have to turn 10 pages a day for 75 days. I find it very hard to find the time to sit. I might have a little ADD, a little OCD. I might have a little bit of everything combined. It's hard for me to sit down and read, but it is not hard for me at all to put an earbud in while I ride a bike, while I lift weights, while I mow the yard, while I fly in a plane, while I work on a design of a new graphic on a slide. It's not hard for me to listen. It's not hard to me to listen while I brush my teeth. It's not hard to have a phone in the shower or listen while I'm showering. I read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill at 19 years old, and it changed my life. I highly recommend that book. It's less than $10 on Amazon. You can also get it on Audible. I developed a burning desire to develop a legacy and to impact others in a positive way. And so every single day, I recommit myself to that in the morning when I do my personal development. I push play on a new book. I listen to everything from leadership books to sales books, religious books. I've recently been listening to a lot of books on how a masculine man lives his life and works with the feminine. I've been divorced, and it's like, man, as I go into this, I like to think this is the second half of my life. I think I got a long way to go, especially if I live a healthy, good life. And I want to be better in every area of my life, physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally, relationship-wise, my kids, one day maybe grandkids, my woman. I want to be better in every area. That's what drives me. I can only control me.
Very true.
So I choose to control that. How about you? What drives you? You
It's
are
the same thing.
Something different than anybody else out there that I've ever met.
It's the same thing at the end of the day. It's about being the best version of yourself. Mainly for, I think that's fun. I like it. I enjoy it. And then also, I don't want to leave my kids with money. I want to leave them with a good example. That's probably the most important for me. Yeah.
Love that. I know you and I have very similar worldviews on a lot of things. And I think being a strong man and a leader is probably right up there at the very top.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Leading those around us.
Totally. Okay, last question.
Okay.
Somebody wants to get ahead of Synergy or get a hold of you at Synergy. Where do they go?
All right. Appreciate you asking that, Jared. SynergyLearningSystems.net. It's not .com, .net.
Okay.
There is another leadership company out there from California that has had that domain for 20-some years, so couldn't get it from them. But SynergyLearningSystems.net. Here's what I'd like to do for your audience that has made it to the end. I don't know how long we've been on. I probably lost track of time.
2 hours.
Wow.
Coming on 2 hours.
Wow. It's a short one for us.
Short.
If you go to the Contact Us page and go down there and share with us that you heard us on Jared Williams' podcast, you'll see a drop down there where you can select Jared. If you fill out that form, then we're going to send you Foundation 3 of our 7 foundations, the entire foundation. I think there's 35 videos there that you can access virtually. Foundation 3 is becoming a wordsmith. Foundation 1, the ground rules. Foundation 2, the mindset. Foundation 3 is the wordsmith. We're going to give you that entire foundation because that's going to give tangible resources for the words that we choose to share. And a lot of what we've been talking about today.
Yep.
For example, our audience, they're trying to book probably diagnostic fees, trip fees. They've got, trip charges. Those are what I call dirty words of anti-persuasion.
Mm-hmm.
We want to tweak those words a little bit, use words that more resonate with the consumer. We're going to change words like price, cost, fee, charge to a word like investment. Okay,
Yep.
We're going to have an investment to diagnose or a diagnostic investment. There's 35 of those. These aren't just great videos for the business owner. These are going to be great videos for the entire team. And it takes us through very customized training for those of us in the trades and the conversations that we're having. So absolutely free, complimentary, as a thank you for you having us on this show today. Synergy Learning Systems. And then, of course, we're easy to find once you're on the website. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, Doug S. Y. I certainly don't have a following like you, Jared, but one day, learning from you,
You get there.
Who knows? We'll get there. But thank you so much, Jared. I just want to say as we wrap up, I really, really appreciate you. Not just having me on the podcast, but having me a part of your Wealthy Plumber Facebook group, your school group, having me come in here to do a keynote at your Hoorah event. You are an individual unlike any I've ever met, and you're the real deal. I have seen some people post some things about you online, which we're all going to have haters.
Yep.
And I've gotten on there and responded to a few because sometimes I'm just like, you don't know that man like I know that man. And I've gotten to know people that work for you very well. There's not a single person that I've gotten to know that actually knows you, that doesn't love you, respect you, and doesn't feel led by you.
Cool.
So I'm honored to be a part of this.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. And thanks for speaking at the event and being in the school group and the whole 9 yards. I like it.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Cool, man. Thank you. See you guys.